and salutations, all you wonderful watchers of the weird out there, and welcome to More Than Meets the Eye, where we're uncovering the conspiracy fact the government doesn't want you to know about. I'm your host, Alexander Sorochan, and this week we are examining the recent findings from the samples of the Itokawa asteroid that were brought back by Japan's Hayabusa mission in 2010. Very basically, new tests have been run on these samples revealing that they contain organic matter and water, or in other words, the building blocks of life as we know it. Now, this isn't proof of the existence of extraterrestrials, but it's a step in the right direction. To explain more about this discovery and what it means for the existence of life on other planets, we reached out to Dr. Sheref Mansy of the University of Alberta for his insight. So, Dr. Mansy, can you explain why this discovery is such a big deal for the scientific community?
There's, sort of two different ways to view such discoveries. You have people who get really excited because to them it means that this is how organics and lifelike material and the building blocks of life could have been delivered to the Earth. And then you have other people who are just excited because it sort of says, chemistry is natural. The building blocks that are needed to form life are going to happen anywhere the components are around. And so this is just sort of another demonstration that we shouldn't be so averse to this concept that life can emerge spontaneously if you've got the right ingredients. Again, it's this concept that chemistry is natural and the ingredients are probably everywhere. And it doesn't mean that life is going to sprout up everywhere because we haven't found any yet. There's just been such a long time. It feels almost kind of like a battle to get people to understand that you don't need biology to make the components of life. Science is science, chemistry is chemistry, physics is physics, whether it's inside of a cell or outside of a cell. And so these ingredients are probably quite widespread throughout the universe. And this is just another demonstration that even in places that we didn't necessarily expect to find it, we find it.
So what does this mean for the existence of extraterrestrial life?
To me, I think what it means is perhaps we shouldn't be necessarily so fixated on just the building blocks. I get excited from it. It's not that I don't. But we've now seen enough data that we shouldn't necessarily find this as mind-blowing as admittedly I do as well. And we should probably be thinking a bit more about how do those components get together to give us a living organism. And that's, of course, something that we just have absolutely no idea about. We can take cells apart super easily, but putting them back together is difficult. And it's even more difficult to try to understand putting a cell together from really basic primordial constituents. So, it is important to identify the building blocks. Without the building blocks, we can't have life as we know it, although perhaps there are other possibilities that we haven't imagined yet. But the transition from this pure chemistry to, maybe it's just semantics, but let's say biochemistry or biology, is just, we've barely put a dent into that.
And do you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials yourself?
I do. What does that actually mean? I don't know. In a sense, what would it look like? I'm completely open to saying that, life can exist in many different ways, and it doesn't have to be the way that we see it and observe it here. But I have to admit, the longer I'm in this field, the more you just sort of realize that the way biology works now is pretty optimized, even with all of its flaws, and billions of years of evolution have, hit upon some pretty good solutions. And maybe it's just the limit of my own imagination, but it is becoming harder and harder for me to imagine something just vastly different.
Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Mansy. It's definitely an interesting discovery, and your insight in the topic is greatly appreciated. Though this isn't as big as finding evidence of actual extraterrestrials out there in the cosmos, it does make the likelihood of finding evidence just seem a little more in reach. That's all the time we have this week, folks. Make sure to tune in next week, and remember, there's more than meets the eye.